Welcome back to the Lemon Factor. I'm Chad. No, we don't have anything new on our 10th generation Honda Accord yet, but something big is coming. What I'm doing is looking at the space that we have available to put an upgraded turbo. And there's not a lot of space there. But that hasn't stopped manufacturers from providing upgraded turbos for the 10th generation. And before I started seriously looking into it, I didn't know there was as many out there as there are. So I've created a list of 10, yes, 10 upgraded turbos for the 10th generation Honda Accord, which is great. It's more than I thought. However, now I have to narrow it down. First question is, do we want to go for ultimate horsepower, peak horsepower? Are we going to really tune this car to be a drag car, or are we going to favor the torque and the responsiveness that you have with the stock car, lower in the RPMs? I love the fact that this car has so much horsepower down low. I love the fact that the turbo spools up so quickly, no turbo lag. Do I want to keep that but add a little bit more horsepower or a lot more horsepower? Or do I want to go all out and just max it out and see what we can produce and really focus it for top end power? I'm sure you're having the same questions, or maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to know what 10 turbos are out there as an upgrade to the 10th generation Honda Accord. So I guess if you're interested in finding out, then stay tuned. The turbos are in relative order of what I believe their power potential is. I looked at the compressor specifications, the inducer, the exducer size, and the larger the size of the compressor wheel, typically all else being equal, the more air it will be able to provide. The size of the turbine wheel is what will, again, all other things being equal, impact the rate of spool up. That doesn't necessarily mean whatever's at the bottom of the list, go after that, that has the biggest power potential. I personally really like the fact that the Honda Accord stock turbo is so responsive, that there's so much torque down low, that the car feels so much faster than it really is, that I'm a little bit nervous about upgrading the turbo, that I'm going to lose that immediacy of the power. I've been in cars, I've upgraded cars where I've put bigger turbos on, and sure, as you rev it up higher in the RPMs, you have that power. It's there. But how often do you do that on the road? At the track, that'll be great, but on the street, you're going to have less, in this case, chances are, less torque, less power in the 2,000, 3,000 RPM, where you're just putting around town. And maybe that's good. Maybe the positive of that is you get better gas mileage if you just lay off of it in normal everyday driving. And when you do get on it, that power is higher in the RPM. So with that said, let's just take a look at the list. The first turbo on the list, no surprise, is the 10th generation Honda Civic Type R turbo, the FK8 turbo. So it is larger. It's really popular because of its price. It will add more of the high-end horsepower with minimal sacrifice to the low-end torque. The next turbo on the list is the 11th generation Honda Civic Type R turbo. And I put it on the list because it just came out, and we know from press releases that Honda did upgrade the Type R turbo, the turbo itself. So with that said, I wanted to add it to the list because as we get more information, you'll probably want to at least consider that. So those two are going to be you want a little bit more horsepower, and when I say a little bit, relatively speaking, probably a good 30 to 40 wheel horsepower. So the next set of turbos on the list are actually FK8, the Honda Civic Type R turbo, that has been modified, has been upgraded. So in essence, you, in some cases, provide the turbo and they will massage the turbo, making the turbine wheel larger, the compressor wheel, possibly adding dual ball bearing. They'll upgrade it so it flows more. So the first one would be the 271 Kuro. And this is interesting. I wasn't aware of this turbo until I started doing some research. I like the size of this turbo. It's larger than the stock Type R turbo, but not too large. It should flow well. The information provided on the website looks promising, including the dyno graphs. One thing that is missing out of most all of these is compressor maps. I would love to see some nice compressor maps to show how the turbo flows, where the efficiency is for the turbo at different boost levels. Unfortunately, the only one we have is one for the MHI Stage 2, and with it, the Honda Civic Type R. Along with the 271 is a Pure 550. So Pure is a well-known company that does massage different turbos, including the Toyota GR Supra. So a turbo that I'll be looking at for our other project car. Unfortunately, after repeatedly reaching out to Pure, haven't gotten back any information, no response to find out how big is this turbo. So I don't even know if it belongs here. Maybe it can flow a lot more, but I'm gonna leave it here because it is, like the 271, an upgraded FK8. The next one is truly an upgrade to the Civic Type R turbo. Mitsubishi Stage 2 turbo. Next to the Honda Civic Type R upgrade, this Mitsubishi, the two of them are probably the most popular. Like the Honda Civic, it's more or less, grain of salt, a drop-in replacement for the stock turbo. And this one does flow a lot more. With it, power potential is probably close to the 400 wheel horsepower. Of course, for all of these, your fuel system will be your limiting factor for now. The next three turbos on the list is where I feel like you're really getting into bumping that power up. So as I mentioned previously, if you're looking for a track car, if you're looking to upgrade the turbo for quarter mile times, these are probably getting into some serious turbos that'll help you with that, at the expense of turbo spool up, at the expense of introducing some lag, at the expense of not having as much torque as you would on the stock turbo. And for some people, that's fine. So the first one on the list is the PRL P600. So this has been out for a while. It has been superseded by the PRL P700, or will. They're both still on sale, and I will get to the 700 in a second. We have the new RV6 R660. It looks to me, based on the information they provide, that the dimensions of the compressor and the turbine wheels are identical to the PRL P600. There might be other components that differentiates the RV6 turbo from the PRL, but it wasn't clear based on the information that is provided both on the PRL website and the RV6 website. One that I skipped over is the Rampage RS550. So this is an upgrade like the 271 and the Pure. It's an upgrade to the FK8. It's a significant upgrade. So they're really boosting up the compressor wheel and the turbine wheel. So the last two on the list are the newly released PRL P700. So this is the upgrade to the P600. On the turbine side, it looks like it will spool up about the same as the P600, but on the compressor side, it looks like it should flow more, significantly more air than the P600. And what's nice about the PRL P700, they indicate the wastegate size, that the wastegate is larger than the P600, which I think is great, especially when you're putting out so much horsepower. This is a big turbo. You want to be able to control that boost and not have boost creep. Now, a lot of the others don't even indicate the wastegate size, so that's why I haven't mentioned it until now. But due to the fact that PRL has mentioned it, in comparison to their P600, A larger wastegate to help control or prevent any boost creep would be great, especially with such a large turbo. The last turbo on this list is a BorgWarner EFR 7163. I've only seen one person that has this on their Honda Accord, FB Rock. I don't know him, but I've watched some of his videos and it looks like this turbo really can put out some power on the 10th generation Honda Accord. This is a sizable turbo. There's a lot of information out there about the EFR turbos and what they're made out of, how they perform. They're the Indy turbo, which is pretty cool. I mean, this is not an Indy car, but that's fun to know. It's made out of some pretty impressive materials. So the wheels themselves weigh much less, given that it's made out of the Gamma TI, and weighing less will help with the spool up. It'll help reduce any lag. Comparatively speaking, it's not going to reduce at all, but if you have a comparably sized turbo, this one, given a lighter wheel, will spool up quicker. So along with the FK8 and the MHI Stage 2, yes, EFR does provide it, which is great. Again, I would love to see compressor maps because you want to make sure that whatever boost you're running, whatever your target horsepower is, that you're running the turbo efficiently. You don't want to overtax the turbo. That's where things start breaking, and it's not just the turbo. So this turbo looks to be the big boy along with the newly released PRL P700. So that brings us right back to where we started. Which turbo? Which turbo should we get? Here's my thoughts for now, and subject to change. I'm thinking about getting one of the massaged, upgraded FK8 turbos because I do like the drivability around town. I don't want to have to wind it out, especially with an automatic car. May have been different if this was a manual because I can keep the car up higher in the RPMs if I wanted to. I don't want to go too big. I don't want to introduce that lag. And I'm not in it, at least not now, all for the quarter mile times. It also provides me a chance to upgrade in the future. And I don't mind doing that. I don't mind testing out the turbos. So I take a look at either the 271, it could be the Pure. If I had the specs, that would be nice. And then I could find out, all right, is this too much lag? Is it too big for what I'm looking for? And if that's the case, I can move back down to a FK8 turbo. If it's not enough, and we all know where these generally go, if it's not enough power, the BorgWarner EFR 7163 or the PRL P700. What I really, really would appreciate is hearing from all of you. If you've upgraded your turbo, what did you upgrade it to? What was the biggest difference? Would you do it again? Are you happy with the upgrade? For our project car here, what would you recommend? What do you want to see? So it's not your car, maybe you do something differently, but do you think we should go huge, just full out, just monster power, or should we keep it conservative? I will tell you that if I go to a bigger turbo, I'm less likely to drop down, but if I go to a mid-sized turbo, there's a high likelihood that I'll continue to upgrade that turbo in the future. I hope this information was helpful. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. But I think we're done for today. I want to thank you very much for joining, and until next time.